Welcome to the Success Pick and Mix podcast with me, Nikki Raby. I began this podcast in 2018 and I've produced over 400 episodes with an emphasis on dreaming and doing. But I know there is so much more to building a business and life that you love. It's definitely a work in progress. For the last 25 years, I've built a portfolio career as an actor, personal branding coach, writer, speaker, and podcaster. I love my pick and mix and curating my personal brand. I want to support you to create success on your terms. I've helped over 1,000 people to build a personal brand, and yes, I will be sharing with you business strategies around planning, packaging, presenting, and propelling your personal brand. But there is so much more to my work than that. I'm not interested in formulas, templates, or sleazy pants sales techniques. You know the ones. Instead, how would it feel to do things your way that align with your personality, circumstances, and goals? I'm going to be sharing conversations with some of my favorite people who are creating success on their terms to provide inspiration and encouragement. Also, there will be mini episodes where I take you behind the scenes, sharing how-tos, my coaching toolkit, chats about mindset, money, building momentum, and all through storytelling. After all, my clients have been known to call me the Queen of Analogies. So, thank you in advance for spending some time with me. Feel free to subscribe to be notified of the next episodes and follow across social media at Nikki Raby. You can catch up on previous episodes via my website, nikkiRaby.com, and also pick and mix, if you like, from my freebie shop. Right, let's crack on and start today's episode. Morning, how you doing? Thanks so much for being with me. I'm going to be here today and every day this week talking around this theme of moving the needle in your business. I heard this phrase a couple of years ago and it sort of gives me that startling reaction of like, oh, and it forces me into the present moment because, and I don't know if this is the way that my creative brain works, but if I don't have a to-do list, if I don't have an intention, if I don't have a purpose or a goal, I can faff about behind the scenes and I can get involved in all kinds of things, reading, distracted, going here, there and everywhere and not doing the things that I needed to do. But today is a prime example, and I don't know if you can hear in my voice slightly. It's on its way out. But yesterday I spent all day in bed. I didn't feel good, and I just needed one of those days where I was like, okay, I've clearly got some sort of bug. I just need to ride it out and rest, and actually feeling much better this morning. My daughter now has it, so she's off nursery, and she was awake a lot of the night, not being very well. And so my Monday morning is not necessarily how I predicted it, because Monday is usually a nursery day for her. My son's at school full time, and it's usually a day of cracking on and being in that energy of, right, let's do this. But today is not that day. Today is about easing into the day, and obviously my daughter being the first priority and taking care of her and giving her what she needs. But I wanted to talk about this sense of moving the needle in your business. And the reason being is there can sometimes be this very sort of smash it, go for it, let's do this. And given everything that's been going on over the last couple of years, actually that might not be the energy that you are naturally feeling or that your natural way of being. And so this question of are you moving the needle in your business is a really powerful one because it brings you into that present moment. So there's a really great book called, and it's a chunky book, so I would probably recommend getting it on audio because it's even quite heavy just to hold, called The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People by Stephen Covey. And this was one of the books that I studied as part of my coaching qualification, and it's one that I refer to. I've also got it on audio as well, and it's one that I refer to a lot. And he talks about one of the principles being beginning with the end in mind. So to break it down in another way is knowing where your destination is, knowing where you're trying to get to. And I wanted to start with that today because I know that so many of us have limited time at the moment. And limited time is all subjective, but I know so many people who are starting the business or their side hustle in evenings or weekends or lunch breaks. And that's very much how my kind of move into coaching happened. I would be listening to podcasts on my commute to work. I would be doing stuff at the weekend, or I would drive somewhere because then I could do part of my course or listen to the training or all sorts of things like that. And so this sense of beginning with the end in mind is a really important one to consider, because if you don't know what the end is looking like and where you're trying to get to, what you can start to do is just go round and round in circles and not be purposeful. And when I am not purposeful in that way, like I mentioned earlier, just faffing about or going down a scroll hole, I start to really disengage with my purpose. I then get really overwhelmed. I don't know what I'm doing, and I just sort of feel in that unhealthy trap, I guess. So beginning with the end in mind is very important. And then when you're thinking about moving the needle in your business in terms of your actions, I want you to consider what those small incremental ones are, those small incremental moves, and those big shake-ups are. So moving the needle it can be a big whoop. It can be moving it in such a dramatic way, which could be, I'm going to make a decision, I'm not doing that anymore, I'm saying yes, or I'm going all in, or I'm jumping feet first into something, or I'm releasing something, those kind of big moves. But also, it can be those slow and steady and small moves as well of, I'm going to post content every single day. I'm just going to do it once, but I'm going to do it, and I'm going to show up consistently. Or the small thing could be, I'm going to make sure that I get up super early and just make sure I have 10 minutes to myself with my journal. So when I'm talking about moving the needle in your business, it could be those two moments. And so I think that you need a combination of both. You need those slow, steady, consistent things that you're doing day in and day out, where you're really having that pat on your back of going, oh, I'm doing this. Oh, like I was learning Spanish in lockdown and it's kind of fallen slightly off the wayside. But it got to a stage where I got a track of like 100 days of doing it, and suddenly I'd learned 700 words. Well, that was really feeding that like, ooh, I'm doing it, those small, steady moments. Whereas if I'd kind of gone and done a crash course and said, right, for the next 2 days, I'm going to go to Barcelona and only speak Spanish, yes, that would have been great, I'm sure, as well. And it would have made me go into that sort of survive mode. But I do think that you need that combination as well. So my task for you today, my challenge, something to ponder is, firstly, are you actually moving the business? Are you moving the needle in your business? And what does that look like now? And where are you trying to get to? And sometimes that big thing that coaches want you to do, like, what's the 5-year plan? What's the 10-year plan? I'm really struggling with that at the moment. I can't think what my 5-year plan is. I know vaguely, I know some of the ingredients that I want to have in there, but I can't quite go into the detail. My head's not in that spot at the moment. And so for you, moving the needle might be, okay, between now and Christmas, I would really like to do this. So I'm going to throw it out there. Between now and Christmas, I'd really like to get to the swipe up or the add the link or whatever. That would be really lovely for me. I'm really going to see, 5 years, it's too much. And and on an aside of that future planning, I'm 40 in about 6 weeks, and sometimes, and I've had a real wobble with it over the last couple of days. And then I've, a girl I went to school with, sadly, I'm not going to go into the details, but sadly is no longer with us. And I keep seeing people, having diagnosis and all the rest, and Sarah Harding and various people who are like, when I see their name and I see their age in the paper, I'm going 39, what? And so if I've had any of those wobbles about turning 40, which, I'm a human being living the human experience, these things might happen. I've really had to ground myself in, be where you are, be grateful for the moment, and not everybody gets to do that. And I made a decision about 6 months ago, instead of going, right, I've got to have my bucket list, the societal pressures of all the things I should have done before 40, I flipped it on its head and I thought, how about I try and heal all the things that I don't want to take with me after 40? How about I close down those things that don't serve me? How about I choose to, I'm getting emotional thinking about that. How about I choose to release that and then create the space for 40 plus rather than feel that pressure? Let me see. I think small yes. Oh, much more chewable. Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And it's that chewable, Oprah always says that probably slightly unethical phrase of you can't eat an elephant all at once. I'm in on this, let go of what doesn't serve me. Yeah, love it. Me too. And you know what? By focusing on that, instead of having that pressure of going, oh my gosh, I've got to go, I've got to do all of this, it's really grounded me in the moment and go, and this is when I talk to myself like, Raby, look around you, take a deep breath, be grateful for the things that you have. Look, hug your children, notice your health, notice these things, all of these things, and it's different for everybody. But yes, to summarize, to think about how you're moving this in your the needle. So if I'm beginning with the end of mind of going, I'd really like this to wipe up by Christmas, my small and steady moments and my shake-up moments, so I'll give you an example of what those are. The small ones are going to be showing up consistently. And this is a real issue for me because I am an empath. I'm somebody who has not an unpredictable life. Like, I'm not like Kate Moss in the 90s, but sometimes I'll get like a last minute thing, or I have to go and film, or like my daughter's asleep in bed today because she was ill last night. So the piece of content I was going to put up this morning, like it hasn't been done, and all of these things. But I've really noticed, like, if I'm going to do those small and steady moves, I'm looking at my systems. I'm looking at how do I support myself to be able to do that and deliver it, and not to a point of like, I'm going to be dead inside and I'm just going to keep going regardless. No, that's not what it's about. But it's about those small and steady actions. Equally, the shake-up version of that could be, I am going to talk about something that I have been sitting on and thinking about for 2 years and I've never mentioned it, and because I'm a bit scared. Or I am going to reach out to that person and ask to interview them because I know that my audience will love it, even though I'm a bit scared of approaching them. So there could be all sorts of things. But I will leave that with you today. I hope it's going to be useful. I'm going to be talking all around this theme this week about moving the needle. So I'm going to be talking, and I've got a few notes here. I'm going to be talking about patterns of behavior, limiting beliefs, all of that tomorrow. I'm going to be talking about communication. I'm going to be talking about your offerings. I'm going to be talking about money. And so all of these videos will be saved live. Systems, yes, need to work on this. I hear you. The structure needed as a creative to be possible within the business sounds counterintuitive. Yeah, and this is something that I really struggle with, because sometimes, and this is my superpower, but it also catches me out as well. So I am that person that over the years, and maybe it's because I trained as an actor or any of that, if somebody says, Nikki, would you mind just saying a few words, or could you just talk around this topic? Like, I've been in so many situations, or work situations, or family parties, or all those sorts of things where people go, could you just say a few words? And I've been able to rattle something off and be able to say it like easy peasy. And sometimes at the end of it, I'm like, I have no idea what I've just said there, but I've been able to do it. And that being able to wing it, and speak from the heart and be really intuitive and really see what's going on and read the room, that works really well for me. And so sometimes I just get a bit comfy with that and I want to wing it. And if I want the growth that I want to, and if I want to serve more people and help more people and all of that group, all of that stuff, yes, systems, absolutely. So I have to have that combination of the two, because I'm sure, I know that the person who I want to be in a year from now is not the person who wings it, or at least has the element of being able to wing it, but has those support systems in place. The final thing that I'm going to say is to create space for moving the needle. So even though yesterday it felt counterintuitive, because I'm in bed all day, this doesn't help, but the ideas were coming thick and fast. So if you don't have a space for your ideas, if you don't have a space for your creative output of things that you want to capture, find a space today, whether it's a notebook or a note section in your phone, any of those sorts of things. Create that container, and then you can shove them all in there. Shove them, that doesn't sound a very kind of sexy word. Like, you can capture and elevate them and breathe them all in there, and then they're there ready when you want. Anyway, if you've enjoyed this, please share it, because let's bring on the swipe up universe. If you're listening, thanks very much. I'll also save this so you can go back, but I'm not sure what time I'm going to be back tomorrow, but I will update it in my stories before I go live, but the replays will be there as well. All right, sending you lots of love. I hope you have a lovely day, whatever you're doing, and I'll speak to you very soon. Bye.